Go to breadboxsolutions.com and you will click on My Account on the very top right-hand corner in the toolbar. You will then input your username or email address once you have set that up, as well as your password, and then you'll go ahead and log in. Now, when you log in, that's going to jump you to your My Account page. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to download the Input Excel spreadsheet. So you'll click on that button right there. Okay, so here is our input page. You're going to go ahead and type in your client name here, as well as the client age and the agency that you represent. You'll also put in your email address, and this is the email address that you used when you registered for your account. You'll also put in the year that you want the income drawdowns to start, as well as the year that you want your income drawdowns to end. Now, what's cool about this format here is you can essentially replicate the charges and crediting strategy and have it be very similar to a real world IUL product. So if you wanted to mimic the charges and the crediting schedule from a real world product, you would go ahead and click on this drop down here, and you can pick from a variety of different carriers. So let's use Pacific Life just as a hypothetical example here. And what it does is it's pulling from this design schedule library tab down here at the bottom here. So we have all these different preloaded product designs in here. Again, we have a high cap asset-based charge if there is one. We've got a multiplier charge if there is one, as well as a multiplier factor and also a persistency bonus. So we've got, again, all these preloaded ones in here. These are very similar to real world products, but again, because this is a hypothetical synthetic asset, these are just design features. These are not intended to imply that the hypothetical synthetic asset in the Breadbox report is an IUL. Again, this is a hypothetical synthetic asset. If you have a product type of crediting and charges design that you wanted to input that we do not have in our library here, you can go ahead and load those into 3 different custom designs here. So whether you want to just make a completely fictitious design, or you want to load a particular charges and credits schedule in there from a particular product from a particular carrier that we do not have listed here, you can certainly do that. If you were to do that from this drop-down menu, you would click Custom here. But again, for the sake of this video tutorial, we're going to select Pacific Life, and it will automatically allow you to select from these drop-down menus in terms of the product. Again, these are just some product designs from some of these carriers. So let's say you want to input PDX2, you would then select the multiplier design. Let's say you want to use the performance multiplier, and then you would select the cap, whether it's a standard cap or if you're going to buy up to a high cap. Let's just say, for the sake of argument here, you're going to use the high cap feature. The other cool thing here is that the preset column right here, this is the current floor and cap and participating loan rate of that particular product. If you wanted to override that, just as a hypothetical example here, let's say you wanted to put in 0% floor, but you want to reduce the cap down to, say, 10% or 9%, you could certainly do that. If you wanted to put in a different participating loan rate, let's say you want to put in 5% instead of 4.4%, which it actually is right now, you could do that as well. If you wanted to go ahead and keep those preset numbers in there, again, you would just not fill out anything there, and these defaults would be the ones to use. Okay. Now, let's go over to the vanilla illustration area here. What that essentially is the input section that you will load the data directly out of the carrier illustration. Again, when it says vanilla illustration, that means you want to run the carrier illustration with no multipliers, no extra riders, just a standard vanilla illustration. So for the client contribution column here, we're going to input the equivalent of the premiums that are going to be contributed in a real world policy here. So we'll go ahead and input this. We will also input the premium load charges again, that are taken right out of the carrier illustration. The total fixed charges, these are the total charges that are coming out of the carrier illustration. Now, as we know, in a real world life insurance policy, the policy charges are not fixed, right? They're going to be a function of the net amount at risk, but for the sake of the Breadbox report, we are just using the standard policy charges, and we are calling them fixed charges because they are fixed in the Breadbox report. And last but not least, we are also going to copy and paste in the surrender charges. Now, typically, the surrender charges are only in the first 9 to 10 years, and so we're going to go ahead and input those. Now, some real world products also have a persistency bonus. The PDX2 actually does have a persistency bonus. If you wanted to add that in dollar amount, you would go ahead and enter that in this column here. Some products do not have a persistency bonus. For example, Pacific Life's PS6 product does not have a persistency bonus. And so if that was the case, you would go ahead and leave that column blank. Some carriers have a persistency bonus that is not shown in the carrier illustration as a dollar amount, but it is a percentage that they are tagging on to the index credit. So you might have, say, a 55 basis point persistency bonus credit. If that is the case, you would go ahead and paste that into this column as well. So let's talk about how to find the charges in the carrier illustration once it is printed out. So again, we'll go through several different carriers here, just as hypothetical examples. This is an illustration run on Pacific Life's illustration software, and you'd want to page down to the page that is entitled Policy Charges. You see there on the top left-hand corner. In the column entitled Non-Guaranteed Premium Loads, those are the premium load charges. Now, the total charges column also includes those premium load charges. Now, we know in a real world IUL, some of those charges are not fixed. Some of those are variable in nature. But for the sake of the Breadbox report, we are going to call those fixed charges. Okay, so let's go to National Life Group. Top left-hand corner, you see there policy charges and other expenses. That's the page that you want to go to. And we see the premium expense charge. Those are the premium loads. And then the total policy charges are in this column right here. Okay, this is an Allianz illustration. Again, the premium charge is the premium load charge. And then they also have the total policy charges all totaled up for you already in the far right-hand column. If we move on to Penn Mutual, in their policy illustration, their charges are shown a little bit different. You do have the premium load charges in this column right here. However, they do not have a total charges column. So you will have to manually add up the various charges from their carrier illustration, and that data you will load into the input tab under the fixed charges column. And then last but not least, under the Securian illustration, again, we have the premium charge, that is the premium load. And similar to the Penn Mutual illustration, Securian does not have a total charges column, so you will have to add up and total all of those charge columns to come up with the total charges that you will load into the total fixed charges column in the input page. And then lastly, the surrender charges typically are not shown as a column in a carrier illustration. But the way to calculate the surrender charges is very, very simple. You just take the accumulated value and subtract the surrender value, and that result will be the surrender charge amount. Now, most policies only have surrender charges in the first 9 to 10 years, so you will not have to input those all the way down in years 1 through 40. Again, it's typically years 1 through 9 or 1 through 10. Now, the other cool thing about the Breadbox report, if you look down here in the bottom left-hand corner, we see input A, input B, and input C. So input A, that is essentially one of 3 different versions of the Breadbox report that you are going to get. So for every request you can actually get up to 3 different designs within that same request. So let's say, for example, we wanted to take a look at another set of design features that are available in a PDX2 type of charges and crediting method. You would go ahead and click on Input B, and as we see here, most of the data ports over. The product type ports over, but if you wanted to change the multiplier design, let's say you wanted to change it and see what Performance Plus looks like. And let's say you want to change the high cap to a standard cap. Everything essentially will be adjusted in your version 2, or in this case, version B of the Breadbox report. If we go to Input C, let's say you wanted to also see what it looked like at Classic. And let's say you did not want to use the high cap, just want to use a standard cap. You would select those. And everything will automatically import, so that when you then upload this to our website and request the report, what we send back to you is going to actually be 3 different Breadbox reports with these 3 different crediting and charges designs. And always remember, if we go back to the Input A tab here, if you wanted to use the charges and crediting parameters from a product that we do not have in the design schedule library, you would go ahead and click Custom here. You would go ahead and zero these cells out here, and you would go back to design schedule library, and again, you would go ahead and customize this based on the product features that you want to semi-replicate, or you can input this literally from scratch. So let's say you want to show, say, a 1% floor with an 11% cap and a 6% participating loan rate in a different set of asset-based charges and multipliers. Or if they didn't have any whatsoever, again, you could customize this and go ahead and fill these out, and it would go ahead and port over to your Input A version here. Same thing with Input B and Input C. Up here we have Design 1, that would be Input A, Design 2, that would be Input B, and Design 3, that would be Input C. So that is how you fill out your Input tab when you are requesting a Breadbox report.